Baseball winter meetings are just about to get going, and the Cubs are rumored to be looking to make some moves, some trades, some of their starters, some of their best players on the block. We're going to talk about that right here on the Cubs baseball channel. So is it Bellinger? Is it Suzuki? How about Nico Heorner? All those guys are on the block, and we're going to get into that. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Let's get this thing going. Thanks for hanging out with us. Go Cubs. And could the Cubs be on the verge of making a big splash this offseason? Thanks, everybody. Mick Gillespie, Cubs baseball channel. Pleasant evening or morning or wherever you might be hanging out, because we're worldwide. Some of you guys might not be in the States. Some of you guys may be other places, and it is great to hear from all of you guys from around the world that love Cubs baseball. So at Broadcaster Mick on the socials, and then don't forget that we're available on all the major social media apps, including X, Instagram, TikTok. So hang out with us there. All right, winter meetings are here. They're in Dallas this year, December 8th through the 12th. And the Cubs are rumored to be a team going into these winter meetings looking to get some business done. Now, there's a few reasons why. We've talked about it ad nauseum here on the channel, and that's that the Cubs aren't going to open up the purse strings and just go out and sign players. They're going to force the management to go out and make moves. Then the front office is going to have to do that without being able to spend themselves out of the situation that they're in right now, which is 83 and 79 back-to-back seasons and out of the playoffs for 2 straight years, right? And also a lot of contracts for that front office that are coming to an end at 2025's conclusion, right? And that gives you a couple things. I mean, like, look, if you don't have a good start to the season, or, you might get fired during the season. If it turns out that you're a last place team in the division, you'll see front offices will be like, hey, so-and-so's not coming back. And, and that's, kind of how things go in that capacity. So the Cubs maybe not going to spend the money right away that it would take for them to be able to kind of get over the hump and start bringing in the talent that they need, which is really, I feel like they need a middle of the lineup bat, and then, elite pitching, which, they've gone out and made some moves, but I don't know that any of the moves that they've made pitching wise would equate to elite. But what we're hearing is that the Cubs are going to shop Cody Bellinger or Seiya Suzuki or Nico Heorner, or maybe all three of them. And now they're saying that Bellinger, we've talked about this before, if the Yankees don't get Juan Soto, that Bellinger would be, even if they go out and sign somebody else, and it's even being reported, even if they got Juan Soto, they still may trade and get Bellinger just to have him to add to the lineup. And they're looking at what the Dodgers are doing out in LA, and they're like, hey, man, the Dodgers are they're getting the best players in the world to be on that team. If we're going to win against them in the World Series, we're the Yankees. We're supposed to do that. We're going to need those horses. And besides that, who wants to beat the Dodgers more than Bellinger, an old Dodger, right? So that's a possibility, right? But also the Rangers, the Angels, maybe the Mariners. I mean, there's teams out there, the Giants, that need some extra offense that could slide into this for Cody Bellinger. And then the other thing is, for the Cubs, they're just trying to get rid of that payroll so that they can go back into the free agent market and take advantage of some needs that they have. And they have too many outfielders right now, which is where Seiya Suzuki comes into the mix. And to me, Seiya Suzuki's a little less money, right? But at the same time, he is a right-handed batter, outfield. We know he's inconsistent in the outfield. He's not great. Some people feel like he's a liability, but when he's healthy, he's really good. He's got a no trade clause, so it's going to be tougher to move him. He's going to have to agree to where he would be traded. And I wonder what teams, and I'm sure they've talked to his agent. Maybe he's probably like, hey, you know what? If for the right move, I'll do it. I think players are kind of like that. They have a no trade clause. Doesn't necessarily mean they won't be traded. It's just they want to go to where they want to go to. and he might not want to go to a last place team. He may say, hey, you know what, maybe Baltimore would be a good spot. Young team. I could go in there and immediately be a guy that maybe gets him over the hump. Maybe he's like a guy that said, hey, Yankees, Dodgers, like send me out there, but might not want to play for the Angels and be a last place player, or might want to play out there. You can get home a little bit faster being from Japan. So we'll see. But those two names, you keep hearing smoke with those two names. Bellinger's the easy one. He opted back into his deal. And it really felt like that the Cubs I expected him to opt out and test free agency, but they must have felt like it wasn't a guarantee. And so he decided to come back. Now, the other one that you keep hearing is Nico Heorner. And I think the reason why is the same reason that you would trade Bellinger or Suzuki. And that's that there's that there's depth at the second base position. And I'm sure that the Cubs are chomping at the bit to bring up Matt Shaw and put him at second base. Matt Shaw is not going to be as good defensively. He might not even be as good of a hitter as Nico, but he'll have more power and he'll get on base. He's going to walk, which I think is one of the biggest things you worry about with young players. How can that guy get on base? But when you have a good eye and you're not afraid to walk, hey, guess what? You'll find a way on base. You're not going to get yourself out. And then the power. You would love to have that power. Maybe he's a guy who could be a top or middle of the lineup guy instead of, Nico's been more of a singles doubles guy. He never developed that line drive power that we thought maybe he would be like Rhino. Maybe Rhino kind of started out that way. Nico barrels the ball up a lot, but he just doesn't get enough on it to drive it out of the park consistently. Matt Shaw has kind of proven through his minor league career and then going back into college that he can hit the long ball, and the Cubs are probably looking for that spark. Plus the affordability too. I mean, Nico being under contract, he's not going to cost you that much. If you trade him, you're going to get good value back, which is what you worry about with Bellinger. If you trade him, what's the value going to be back? Because teams might feel like, hey man, we're paying over to get him at $27 million. We're not going to give up some good players because we're kind of worried about, hey, you know what? We're already picking up this guy's contract, and that's why you want to move him to be able to sell him. So that's where we're heading right now into winter meetings. Now, there's some other questions that I thought were worth talking about, and potentially answering those questions comes down to maybe making not only getting the budget back when you trade Bellinger for resources. But look, maybe you answer that question with these trades, rotation, are the Cubs satisfied with the rotation? Obviously the bullpen was, Jed kept talking about the bullpen being solid towards the middle end of the season. When the high leverage games were there and the Cubs were still in the mix, the bullpen stunk, so you got to have a bullpen that's good enough when you're in it or when you're out of it. Right. I mean, I do appreciate what the bullpen was able to do, middle, late season, but I'm not sold that you start the year and these guys are in great shape. And then the other thing we talked about too, is you got to have middle of the bat lineups. And if you trade these guys, you trade Bellinger and you trade Suzuki, it's the closest thing that you have as a Cubs fan to a middle of the lineup bat. Nico's not one. You paid all that money for Dansby Swanson to hit eighth. So the Cubs are going to have to go out and get guys that they can put in there that are going to be able to, to drive in runs. And I think that's kind of, where we're looking at right now as well going into winter meetings. So we'll see, if this is such a weird winter meetings and a season, because with Jed Hoyer kind of being where he is right now on a 1-year contract with a team that really hasn't made a run in a while, knowing that this could be it. This is a winter meetings that if I'm Jed, I'm going into this, I'm going to be like Rocky. I'm taking some swings. I'm going to take some risks because that's the only way that I know that I can get this organization in position to be able to win a World Series. And that should be the goal, not just making the playoffs, but winning it all. So you guys tell me what you think. We'll keep an eye on this all week from out in Dallas. We went to winter meetings last year, not going to make the trip this year, but we're going to keep a close eye on it, and we'll see, kind of how this thing unfolds. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Cubs baseball channel, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.